And Miss, we got to shout out some of our new friends on
do.
another podcast. Tell them
That's right.
which podcast we're talking about.
That Strange Podcast.
Yes, That Strange Podcast. We found them once we started doing this podcast online.
We did. Yeah.
And they are essentially our sister podcast, honestly.
They are. They really are a sister podcast.
They're a queer podcast duo. And they talk about spoopy stories. They talk about true crime stories. We've been binging them like crazy. We love them.
Highly recommend their 5th episode about Phil Hartman.
Yes, right? Phil Hartman.
I thought it was such a good episode. I didn't know anything about it, and it was really great. They did a great job.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And what I also liked about that episode too, they did talk about the 90s classic called Jingle All the Way.
Yes, they did, which Kevin loves.
I love, because I'm sorry, I'm going to digress one moment. That is a kids movie from the 90s that you could not make today.
No.
Absolutely not.
No, it just wouldn't it could not happen now.
Nope. So we love them. Please go check them out. They are on Instagram at That Strange Podcast, and you can listen to them on Apple, on Spotify, on Google, and
same places you listen to us.
Yes. Yeah. So we just want to give them a shout out. Thank you, James and Emma. So let's go ahead and do our little intro so we can start our show. How about that?
How about it? Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Creepy InQueeries,
a podcast dedicated to all things creepy, spoopy, and true crimey.
With your hosts, Miss
and Kevin,
your friendly neighborhood queers.
Let's dive in.
Anything new with you?
Let me think.
You watching anything? Reading anything?
Until I'm blue in the face, I'm going to talk about that show Yellow Jackets on Showtime.
Right. I haven't watched it. I'm just, when I'm not sitting here looking at your beautiful face and I'm not at work, I'm studying.
Absolutely. So
TV time is limited.
Yeah. But yes, that show is my new jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And I'm super excited for it. It's like right up my alley. And it does have Christina Ricci, and we do stand a Christina Ricci moment.
We stand. We absolutely stand. I just figured out what that meant 2 months ago. And I was like,
right?
I didn't know what it meant. And then I was like, I found
explain
out
it
it was
to
about
the children.
Well, it's the Eminem song,
right.
Stan.
Yep.
Which is about
almost
like
20
a
years old.
Fan. Definitely.
2002, yeah.
Yeah, it's around the same age as our friendship, about 20 years. And it's a song that he has about like this crazy super fan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That like follows him and
is obsessed with him.
It's like obsessed with him. Doesn't he like sneak into his house or something?
No.
Or am I thinking of the music video?
You're probably, the big takeaway from that is, he is so obsessed. And then when Eminem doesn't like sign his like CD or whatever outside of his show one night, he gets all crazed and then kills his pregnant girlfriend, like puts her in the trunk of a car and drives off a bridge. Yeah. But yeah, that's why I'm always so shocked when people use that word today. I'm just like, especially gays. I'm like, you know what?
I know. Even though we both just used it. Which is why we're having this conversation.
Yes.
But I wonder how many people really know what Stan means.
Because I would love to poll.
It is dark. It is so dark. Which, like, listen, absolutely. I love a social movement that's a little dark, but it's weird when you hear people say, like, I stan Taylor Swift. Like, I don't.
Right.
it doesn't really
compute. It doesn't compute.
Yeah, there it is. For the listeners, I was threading my fingers together and apart. Like it doesn't link. So, this is a visual podcast.
This is a visual. This is a visual.
It's a visual.
So also, we in terms of TV shows we're watching, I just saw too. This is going to come out, I believe, after the show comes back, but very soon. My show, Pen 15, is coming back. And
here's the thing about Pen 15. I actually love it. I think it's incredible. However, it is so accurate and so absolutely set in the time that we went to middle school that I am triggered on literally every level.
Absolutely.
I just like it's done so well, and the actors are so good at being middle schoolers, which is hilarious because they're our age in real life.
They're our age.
But listen, I think it's hilarious. I think it is so well done. But you know me, and I can't handle like the cringe. Like I get it, I appreciate it, I love it. But the cringe that is happening like in my body makes me want to like peel my own skin off and just
I know
run away. Which is why I can't watch it alone. I could watch it when you came up to my old apartment and we watched it together, and I loved it because I could hide my face in your shoulder literally the whole time and like watch it through my fingers.
Yeah, it is so incredibly accurate to early 2000s middle school, early high school, and it is labeled as a cringe comedy, so and it lives up to its name.
So like all the cringing that I am doing internally, like they're doing it to me on purpose, which feels like
it's a personal attack.
It's it is a targeted personal attack.
And it's just so well done and so cringy and hilarious.
So yes, watch it. If you can handle cringe and you're not like a monster like me, if you can handle the cringe, please watch it. It's so good.
Yes.
If you can't handle the cringe, get you a best friend to force you to watch it, who will allow you to just live inside their sweater while it's on the TV. So you can listen, but maybe not watch.
Yes.
I have just been watching holiday episodes of Bob's Burgers.
Yes. Which one? What was the latest one you watched?
Of course. So last night I watched the one where Bob reveals his bisexuality to the world.
Yes.
What's it called?
The Thanksgiving episode.
Turkey in a Can. Was it Turkey in a Can? Yeah. Yes. Oh God, it's so good. There's nothing
He's
quite
a slappy
like
bear.
He's a slappy bear. I forgot that he was called a slappy bear until I watched it again last night. And it's just so good. He's just like, what is it when he's like at the counter the last time and he's just like, are we doing this? We're doing this. And he's like,
it's the second time he comes back.
Yeah.
Because he has to get like another turkey. Or third turkey. Yeah, sure.
Third time. And so he's like, I'm married, but if I wasn't, who am I kidding? You're way out of my league.
I'm straight. I mean, I'm mostly straight. I mean, who am I kidding? You're out of my league.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, I don't know if I want to be the parents or if I want to be the children. I think I want to be the children.
Okay.
But if I ever had kids, and I won't, but if I did, I would want them to be as fucking outrageous as the Belcher children.
Absolutely. The Belcher family is one of the best American families on TV.
Yeah.
They all love each other. They're dysfunctional.
Yeah. I don't think they are dysfunctional. I think they are an example of a mostly functional, mostly happy family.
Okay. I'm here for that.
That's where that's my position, and you'll have my thesis on it by next week.
Please do. It needs to be cited properly
pages.
using APA.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know APA. I only know Blue Book, the legal citation guide. So that's what you're getting. At law school, you only use Blue Book. Which is just, it's nonsense.
Isn't that like where you buy cars or get car values?
Kelly Blue Book. Yeah, that's where
Kelly
you value
Blue
your
Book.
car.
I'm going to have a drag queen named Kelly Blue Book.
That's great. That's great. And you're just like...
Please welcome to the stage, Kelly Blue Book.
She's beautiful. She's here to give you a valuation on your Corolla. It's going to be a great night.
Don't forget to tip the dolls. Yes. Yes, Queen. We stand Kelly Blue Book.
We stand Kelly Blue Book.
Now, she would be, in addition to my, if I ever did drag, I would be, my drag queen persona would be Lazy Susan. That would be my drag queen.
Kevin, you're Lazy Susan in or out of drag.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
I mean that with the most amount of love.
But what
would you do? Yeah. Would you stand on like a rotating platform?
Yes, and rotate slowly so people could pick meats and cheeses off me. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. And then my drag daughter would be Black-Eyed Susan from the legendary House of Susan.
Does that make me Black-Eyed Susan?
Yes, if you want to be.
Listen, if I'm not wearing makeup, I could be Black-Eyed Susan any day. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Kevin, I think you're first this week. I think you are the true crime daddy.
I am. Ooh.
Yeah.
I've never been
TCD.
Called that. Ooh.
True crime daddy. Yeah.
Damn. All right. But yes, yeah. I have.
All right.
Well, boy, do I have a story for you tonight.
Lay it on me.
I don't know if you've heard of it. I hope not, because that is my eternal goal. Whenever I tell a true crime story, I don't want you to have heard of it beforehand. So today's...
Tell me.
So today's story I'm going to talk about is a story that happened in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And it involved a family of 9. And it involves extremely brutal familicide that occurred in 2015.
2015?
And it's... Yeah, in 2015, and it's the story of the Bever Family Massacre. Have you heard of it?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to
all I keep thinking about is Bevers from...
I know, from Broad City.
From Broad City.
And I thought about thought that was their name at first, but it's just one Bever, so.
Bever, just a singular Bever.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think I know about it.
Oh my God, that makes me feel so good. Yes. Okay. So yes, we're going to dive on in.
Educate me. Let's dive in.
So yeah, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma is one of the largest cities in the state. It's near Tulsa and has a little under 100,000 residents.
Okay.
There are not many murders that take place in that quiet city. In fact, there were 0 murders the year prior. So, yeah. So an event like this, I know we come from Baltimore where there's 300 annually. So, and that's with a city of 600,000. So even, woof. Yeah. So an event like this really can send a shockwave through a community for sure.
Of course. Yeah.
So the story involves the Bever family. And it consists of parents David and April, who married when David was 25 and April was 15 years old. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. It just is what it is. So,
wait, and what year did they get married? Not long enough ago for it to make a difference. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Is 15 is 15.
15 is 15 unless it is 1867.
So yeah.
So,
it was
okay, so April's 15. So just my legal mind, was she pregnant? Did she have permission from her parents? How did she get married?
I don't know anything else about their marriage.
Okay.
April was not, to my knowledge, pregnant when she got married. Just saying that.
So this 25-year-old grown man married a child. That's the beginning of the story.
It's what I said. It has nothing to do with the story. They just got married at that time. So yeah.
Good. I'm going to try to get past it.
They had 7 children.
Oh my God.
And their ages. Yeah. So there was Robert, who was at the time of the murders in 2015. He's 18. We have Michael, who is 15. We have a 13-year-old daughter, and I'm not going to tell her name, and I'll explain that later. We have Daniel, who is age 12. We have Christopher, who is age 7. We have Victoria, who is age 5. And there was also a 2-year-old daughter at that time, too. Again, I'm not going to say her name, and we'll explain why later.
Okay, so lots of kids.
Lots of kids. Oklahoma family.
Baby to 18. All right.
Yes. According to news reports and courtroom testimony, the Bever family was a very insular family. Some would even say reclusive. I would even say reclusive. All 7 kids, they were homeschooled, and they weren't allowed to kind of venture outside of the family property.
Okay.
There were cameras that were around the outside of the house, but they were not connected to anything that was recording the videos themselves. But they were, so it wasn't to deter any robbers per se.
Oh, okay.
They were more so for David Bever, the father, to know where his children's whereabouts were at all times.
Well, that sounds okay.
Yeah, sure.
It's the wrong side of okay, but I can logically understand it.
That's a good way to phrase that, the wrong side of okay. So the neighbors said that the family did keep to themselves, and most actually didn't know the names of the children until the medical examiner released victim information. So they were super insular, very reclusive amongst the community. So the story itself revolves around a brutal case of patricide and matricide, as well as familicide. So familicide can really encompass any member of the family, but patricide and matricide are specifically for a parent of a father or a mother figure.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds fun.
Yes. So the way I'm going to kind of just break up the story itself, I'm going to talk about the murders themselves that night. And then I will talk about the aftermath of it, meaning the trial and up to today. And then we can talk a little bit about the motive itself and why things transpired how they did. So let me dive into the murders themselves. So,
all right.
At around 11:30 p.m. on July 22nd, 2015, police were alerted to the address of 709 Magnolia Court by a 911 call made by a 12-year-old boy named Daniel Bever, who had barricaded himself in his father's office, and he was calling 911 to say that his brother was attacking his family. He had stated that his brother was attacking the family, one brother, before commotion could be heard on the 911 call. And then there was another male that kind of took the phone from Daniel and said hello. And when the 911 dispatcher kind of replied back, the line went dead.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a dark, dark story if I didn't already mention that. So according to witness testimony and police reports, the murders began a few minutes before Daniel's call to 911. 18-year-old Robert and 15-year-old Michael, the 2 eldest siblings of the family, were in their shared bedroom when they lured their 13-year-old sister, who I am not mentioning her name, into, quote, look at something on his computer, on Robert's computer. So when the sister came in to view what was going to be on the computer, Robert came up behind her and slit her throat. Yeah. She began screaming for help. And Robert...
She could scream?
Yeah. Robert was actually shocked at that too. He thought like as soon as someone was kind of like stabbed or, their throat was slit, that they would kind of die immediately or not be able to move or talk or whatever. So when she began screaming for help, I know, right? So when she began screaming for help, thinking that she was, going to die immediately from the wound, Robert kind of got taken aback and he began stabbing her in the neck. He began stabbing her in the stomach and the arms, it turns out, too. So neck, stomach, and arms.
Holy shit. All right.
So April, who was the mother, ran in when she heard the screaming and saw the carnage that was going on and shouted for someone to end up calling the police. It was at that time that Robert, who was 18, he's the oldest sibling, turned his attention to his mother. The 13-year-old sister was able to escape the bedroom. She made it out to the outside. Yeah, she was bleeding.
Hell yeah, girl. Good for her.
Right? She made it outside. She ran outside. Apparently, she collapsed into the driveway. Yeah. But when she escaped the house, I believe that set off the house alarm as she opened up the door.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
So it was at this time that Robert continued stabbing his mother, April, as April ran into the kitchen, where she ended up dying from more than 48 wounds to the head, neck, torso, arms, and hands.
Always blows my mind. Like when I hear 48 wounds. Stabbed in the head, like the head.
The head.
Like also 48 times, that's an incredible rage.
That is absolutely.
Right?
Like, absolutely.
That's the only thing I can think of. That is someone that is, I mean, I said it before and people laughed at me, but stabbing is an intimate crime.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to be right there. It's not like shooting somebody with a gun. It's like right there 48 times.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So as that was happening, April falls down dead with her 48 wounds. Robert then went outside into the driveway and dragged his 13-year-old sister from the driveway onto the front porch, where he apparently went back inside to continue the rampage. So he ordered Michael, who was the 15-year-old, to bring her fully back inside the house. So apparently Michael dragged her back from the front porch into the foyer and shut the door and disabled the alarm. So there was... Yeah.
Well, wait, if the alarm went off, doesn't that mean like police are alerted?
I mean, yes. Yeah, they were alerted, but everything that I'm going to talk about kind of happened so incredibly quickly that it all happened before law enforcement arrived. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was also at this time that 7-year-old Christopher locked himself and his 5-year-old sister Victoria in a bathroom.
What a good boy. Okay.
Yeah. Michael, who's a 15-year-old, he began banging on the door, pleading to be let in because he was lying to Robert.
Scary.
Yeah. He was lying to the younger kids, lying that Robert was the one trying to kill him too. So he was like, let me in. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So, of course, Christopher opened up the door.
They let him in.
Yeah. And that's when Michael, the 15-year-old, began stabbing his 2 younger siblings. He stabbed them to death.
Okay.
Christopher had 21 stab wounds to the back, the chest, the shoulder, and the legs. And Victoria had 23 stab wounds to those same areas.
And this is the 15-year-old brother. So clearly they're working in concert. They're working together.
They're in cahoots. Yep.
I just can't imagine stabbing a 5 or 7-year-old, but let alone like your sibling.
Your siblings.
Like that's insanity. I don't care if you don't get along. That just means you don't call them on the holidays. Why?
Right.
okay.
And not that it matters even too much, but the fact that they were all homeschooled too and all spent all of their time together.
Just, they must have been even closer
compounds
than normal.
That. Yeah.
Right.
Must have been. Yeah.
Right.
So after, unfortunately, the 7-year-old and the 5-year-old were killed in the bathroom, that was when Michael ended up going to his father's office where the 12-year-old brother Daniel was hiding. He had barricaded himself in there. He apparently was able to take Michael's cell phone from the room during all of this commotion, got into his father's office, and that's how he called 911.
From his cell phone. Okay.
From his own cell phone, yeah. And that's when Michael, the 15-year-old, ended up doing the same thing to his brother Daniel, where he was banging on the door saying, "Robert's trying to kill me. Let me in, let me in." And that's when he was, Daniel let him in when he was mid-call to the 911 dispatchers. If anyone ever wants to listen to it, it is on YouTube. It is readily accessible.
Did you listen to it?
I did. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 911 calls are real rough.
Absolutely are.
The only time I really can handle it is when I know, like, they're fake beforehand. Otherwise, it's just a real painful situation, no matter what it is.
Yeah. So Daniel was mid-call when he let Michael into the room, to the office, and that's when Michael took the phone from him, was heard that he was on the phone with 911, and he ended up smashing the phone. So like on the 911 call, it just kind of disconnects, but apparently he smashed the phone. So Michael then told Robert, "That'll do it." Michael then told Robert, who was, around at the time, quote, "He's all yours." And then Robert came in and stabbed his brother Daniel a couple times, who managed to run out of the office, but he ended up collapsing into the living room, and he ended up dying of 21 stab wounds to the back, shoulder, and chest.
Okay, so the 15-year-old says to the 18-year-old, "He's all yours."
He's all yours. Yep.
What does that mean? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this is about the time where David, the father, was awoken, who was sleeping upstairs. He was
he was asleep? Okay.
He was asleep during most of this. He ended up coming downstairs and he saw Robert, who's the oldest child, the 18-year-old, who had a knife, and David began charging his son. But unfortunately, Robert ended up stabbing him in the chest, which incapacitated him.
Yeah.
And Robert fell to the ground. He was stabbed at least 28 more times and died.
Okay.
Yeah. So
this is a rageful duo.
Rageful duo. It all happened within minutes of from start to finish, essentially.
Really?
So
that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shortly before police arrived, Robert and Michael, after they had unfortunately done their deeds, they fled out the back door. They ran through the woods behind their house and basically hid in a creek that was in the woods.
In the creek? All right.
In the creek, Michael had removed his body armor. And did I forget to mention these kids...
body armor?
Yep, I think I forgot to mention that these kids purchased body armor for this.
Wait, okay, so... Where did two homeschooled the internet, right?
The internet, my friend. The internet, my friend.
The curse and the blessing that it is.
Yep. Okay. So when the officers arrived, and when I said that murders did not happen often in this community, it did not. So whenever there was a call for a murder, it was an all hands on deck sort of operation. So any EMT, any open police officer, any ambulance, whatever, they ended up showing up to the house at that time. So when officers arrived, they noticed the blood that was on the driveway and the porch of the house. Yeah, they ended up knocking on the door, and they ended up hearing a faint voice calling for help directly inside of the house. So they kicked in the door. And that's where they found the 13-year-old sister who was bleeding profusely. They pulled her out of the home, and they were, with EMTs there on scene, they were able to provide her medical services right away. She ended up surviving, which is why I'm not telling what her name is. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That's good.
Terrible, but good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good, question mark. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, for as good as that was, the officers then had a sweep throughout the rest of the house where they discovered the remaining 5 victims, the 2 parents and the 2 other siblings, or 3 other siblings, I'm sorry. And they ended up finding the 2-year-old who was asleep upstairs at the time. She was unharmed, and she had slept through the entire thing. So that's another reason why I'm not telling what her name is. So the 2-year-old survived.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
but could you imagine walking?
No.
Yeah.
Just no. Whatever you're going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, could you imagine walking into a house like that, like in a city where murders don't happen every year, and to see
so you're a cop, you could be a
massacre.
cop for 10 years, never see a murder, and then you're seeing something out of like the Firefly family. It's just, it's horrible.
Yeah. So the cops, when they did a sweep of the house, you noticed that the back door was ajar. So they brought canine units out, and they were hunting down the scents because, like I said, Michael, who was a 15-year-old, he left he kind of took off his body armor and threw it down there. Right. So the canines had a scent. They immediately located the boys that were hiding in that creek. And
wait, they just went to the creek and just didn't. Well, you know what? At least they're stupid. All right.
At least they're stupid enough to get caught. Yep. And we'll talk more about like their motive and their future plans as we get to it, of course. But Robert immediately. Yeah. I know. It's outrageous. Yeah. So Robert immediately complied when the officers in the canine unit were telling them to come out and show your hands. So Robert complied. Michael apparently was hesitant, and that's when they kind of unleashed the dogs on him. They ended up biting his shoulder and dragging him out into the open. He was fine. He wasn't killed or anything, but the canine unit dragged him out, and they both were promptly arrested. So at least there's that.
More than he deserves.
More than he deserves, right?
All right. Sorry. I'm getting dark because I'm so upset.
I know.
Like, how do you do this whole thing? It's so awful.
I know. It's fucked up.
Okay.
So when they were both arrested, there were photographs that they took of them at the time of their arrest. Robert had an almost smile on his face, and Michael had a very vacant look on his face, as if, he didn't just murder his family. And so
mainly
it's very
his
wild.
Young siblings.
Yeah. So Robert apparently allegedly looked at his younger brother as he was being put into patrol cars, and he said, quote, "It's been a pleasure. I'm proud of what I've done." Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that.
I know. I don't know what to say to that either.
As what?
As he was being put into the cop car. As in, they were both put into separate patrol cars. And as when Robert was being put into his patrol car, he looked at Michael and said, "It's been a pleasure. I'm proud of what I've done," with a kind of smile on his face.
Oh, he looked at, okie dokie. Yeah. All right. Well, it's good to be proud of your work, I guess.
Right. And going back to
that was dark and I didn't mean it.
And going back to the 13-year-old sister, she was, like I said, brought out to the EMTs immediately. She was rushed to a hospital. She underwent immediate surgery, and she was listed as being in serious but stable condition at the time. And she did end up surviving. So she was able.
Know how, but
the doctors didn't know either. She had her throat slit, and she was stabbed multiple times. She lost a lot of blood, and so they were shocked that she survived.
And this is the sister that had gotten out of the house.
Yes.
And got all the way to the driveway.
Yes.
And then they dragged her back inside.
Yes, this was the 13-year-old sister who did that. Yep.
Okay.
So with both brothers arrested, I don't want to say boys because one was an adult. When they were arrested, they were both charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder and one charge of assault and battery with a deadly weapon. And Michael...
for the sister?
Yes, yeah, for the sister who survived.
Not attempted murder in Oklahoma?
That was not part of their charges, so I don't know. And
Fair enough.
Michael, who was the 15-year-old at the time, he was tried as an adult because, according to Oklahoma, if you are charged with first-degree murder, you were tried as an adult. So,
got it. I think if you are responsible for murdering 5 people, I think under the law, if you do adult activities, you can be charged as an adult. And I would say murdering 5 members of your immediate family is an adult activity. So I can't say that I'm against it.
I would have to agree with you on that, honestly, because with the amount
and normally I will say I'm not usually in favor of charging children as adults, and a 15-year-old is a child, because in this system we understand that children can be rehabilitated. Their minds aren't fully developed. They have the potential to be better. And listen, for adults, rehabilitation is a part of it, but it is not the main purpose.
Oh, wow.
So the 4 purposes are retribution, rehabilitation, deterrence, and incapacitation. The rehabilitation side of it is really focused on mainly juvenile offenders.
Yeah, I just Googled the words purpose of prison, and it says prisons have 4 major purposes. These purposes are retribution, incapacitation, deterrence, and rehabilitation. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad I was right when I pulled that out of my ass.
Yes. So,
all right. So edit that as you please.
Absolutely. So Robert Bever, between his arrest and his trial, ended up trying to hang himself in a cell while awaiting his trial.
I wonder why.
I guess he wasn't so proud of what he did, but I digress.
It's either he wasn't so proud of what he did, or he just didn't want... He did what he did, and that's what his goal was, and he just wanted to be done with it.
Right.
I mean, it's not a stable mind that kills 5 people.
Right. So Robert was offered a deal that if he pled guilty to all charges, he would have the death penalty taken off the table, because that's death penalty is in Oklahoma and is common, plea deal. He ended up taking that deal. So he was given 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole to be served consecutively, plus 1 additional life sentence for the assault charge.
Good. Okay.
Since Michael was under the age of 18 when he was arrested, even though he was charged as an adult, he did not have a death penalty since he was under 18.
Yeah, there's a movement now in most states where even juveniles previously tried as adults and convicted of life without parole. I believe now that it's national, where anybody who's sentenced under those conditions has to be resentenced. I bet that has something to do with it, considering the year was pretty recent. And you can't sentence a juvenile to life without the possibility of parole. You can sentence them to life with the possibility of parole. And the possibility of parole does not mean that person is going to get parole.
Right. So. And so to piggyback on that, Michael, he ended up pleading not guilty. So he went to trial. Of course, though, he was found guilty of all charges. So he was given 5. Of course he was. So he was given 5 consecutive life sentences and 28 years with the possibility of parole for the assault. So essentially a life sentence. Apparently he tried appealing that. Well, at least his attorneys tried to appeal it, saying that it was unconstitutional because he was under 18 at the time, and there's no idea of having parole if you have 5 consecutive life sentences. But the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled, I believe, 3-2 against it, saying he knew what he was doing, he did it, and it's a just verdict, essentially.
This is really complicated for me.
Yeah.
because most of the time I am, how do I say this? Pretty anti-long prison sentences. However, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that opinion in the face of something like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a disconnect and a discord because generally speaking, I don't think that there's any benefit to rotting in prison. But when you've killed 5 people in your immediate family,
how can you, right?
What is the punishment?
Right. And that's my question to you in all seriousness. If I know that you were against capital punishment, but you just said that you were against what, life sentences? So how would that, how would you consider a just verdict in that case, I guess?
In this case, I think just verdicts were given. But I mean, it's really, really complicated.
Yeah, because absolutely.
Because when we're talking about retribution and punishment versus rehabilitation, I think that rehabilitation is definitely a possibility for more offenders than we think it is. I think that the goal of punishment should be retribution. I mean, God, should be rehabilitation. Excuse me. I just mean, it's not something I can really say definitively. I know
it's a case by case, I would think.
It really is. It really is a case by case situation. I would love to say that nobody deserves to just be thrown away. People don't deserve to be thrown away and forgotten. And most of the time, I believe that.
Okay.
That's what fair. Do you do? What is, I mean,
I know. What do you do in this situation? Yeah.
Which is, so in this situation, do I believe that their sentence was just? Probably.
Yeah. Probably.
I mean, unless you're going to tell me some mitigating factors that really sway me.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about motive yet. So, I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Before we talk about motive, I'm going to go back. So Michael was convicted on all charges. His it went up to the Oklahoma Supreme Court when he appealed it, and it was, is it called the verdict was stayed? Is that correct saying?
Yeah.
Like they upheld it. They upheld the verdict.
It was upheld.
So also, I just wanted to point out too, during Michael's trial, the surviving sister did testify against him. And God. So
how hard is that?
I know. And so it was with her testimony. Part of her testimony did help, convict him. And she corroborated almost all of the stories. She did say that certain things that Robert and Michael said in their interrogations happened differently. But the same thing,
I have to say that's
right.
I can't blame her, considering she was stabbed how many times?
Dozens.
And managed to dozens of times, managed to escape. And then her throat was like, the fact that she has any memory at all.
Outrageous. She's incredible. So strong, so brave.
Yeah. And the fact that she could stand up there and face him during his trial. I don't understand how he could justify a not guilty pleading.
So
everybody deserves their day in court.
Yeah. Let's dive into motive. So according to testimony and according to news articles, the motive for the brothers' massacres came down to a mixture of things, obviously. So Robert's obsession with serial killers.
Yeah.
Particularly the Columbine killers. Yeah. He had a fantasy of committing more murders than the Columbine killers.
So he decided to start with his family. Got it.
That is, yes. I will absolutely get into that. Yep. So although the kids were sheltered physically from the outside world, their parents were actually proponents of them using computers and technology. Apparently, April, the mother, was pretty active on Reddit.
Oh, okay.
So they had computers, they had access to the outside world digitally, things like that. So it was with that kind of opportunity that Roberts
learned about it all.
Yes, exactly. They learned about certain things. They learned about certain movies that they watched about some mass murder, and they became not inspired per se, because I'm not a proponent of killers and people that do crimes do so because of movies or video games or anything like that. Right. They had opportunity, but they had the mindset as well, and they had
the means
access.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. They had the access to that digital. Yeah.
Which again, with them committing these crimes.
Exactly.
We had access to the same shit.
Yep. And so Robert apparently was the one that had most of the fantasies, most of the inclinations about being a killer. He had the idea that the world didn't matter. Everyone was kind of pointless in the world, and they were bad in a way, so they all needed to die. So he concocted this plan. Yeah.
He was alleviating his guilt preemptively. Nobody matters. Right. Nothing matters. So I'm going to kill all these people, but who cares, because nothing matters.
Yes. And Michael, who was 3 years younger than he was, that was his big brother. So he would do anything that his brother was saying and did. He was also a bit afraid of Robert, obviously, with the kind of ideations that Robert would have.
I can't imagine why.
Can't imagine why, yeah. So with that access to the outside world digitally, things like that, they were able to purchase many weapons over the course of a few months before the night of the massacre took place. So they ended up buying knives, they bought body armor, they bought crossbows, they bought guns, thousands of rounds of ammunition too.
Great.
So the plan was...
Love America.
The plan was... After they were going to kill their family that night, they were then going to take their parents' car, and only Robert could drive. Michael could not at the time, but they were going to take their car, from Oklahoma, I believe, drive it up to Washington State. But along the way, they wanted to kill indiscriminately. And they wanted to have allegedly at least 5 victims, like per state or whatever, plus their family. They wanted to have at least a kill count over 50 people.
Well, goals are important.
Right. So in addition to the Robert's obsession with serial killers and crime and things like that, there was another motive as well. Michael, Robert, and their 13-year-old sister did testify during Michael's trial that their father, David, was physically and verbally abusive to their family, especially to Robert and especially to Michael. Michael did have a speech impediment. So apparently that was very traumatic for Michael to be abused physically and verbally about his speech impediment from his father, which is not an excuse to murder their entire family, but
it's not. And that's all of that is terrible. Nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to be abused by the people they trust the most. But if he has a speech impediment, odds are the abuse caused it. So I think it's really nice that the abuse causes the speech impediment and then he gets abused for the speech impediment. That's great.
Yeah. It's a vicious cycle.
But like you said, there are plenty of people, unfortunately, who come from terrible backgrounds, who are... I cannot say how unfortunate it is, but come from unfortunately awful environments, and they don't kill their families.
And
they don't think that going on a murder spree and having a goal of a head count per state. That's not part of the plan.
It's justified. Yeah.
It's not at all justified in any single way.
Yep. And I just want to point out 2 more bits of information about this story as we wrap up. The 2 surviving daughters, they were put into state custody. So we do not know, they're not with the family as far as I know. So they were put in state custody and I believe they are together, but how fucking traumatic that would be.
If this is 6 years ago, 13, so the older girl would be 19 now.
Right. She'd be an adult now.
The baby would be like 8
or 9-ish, depending on her birthday. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not upset that we don't know anything about them. Good for them.
Right.
They deserve their privacy and their whatever piece they can get.
Yep. And then the last piece of information too, after a couple years of the house that the murders took place stood derelict. Obviously no one wanted to buy that house. So the city at that time in 2017, they raised enough money. They ended up raising the house and they converted it into a small park that had a gazebo and a garden with like a reflective pond in there. So that's dedicated to not just the victims and the surviving members of the family, but also the first responders of that night.
That's great.
Yeah. So the community could do some sort of healing. But that's my story.
I think it was, I think it was a great thing. I can't believe I've never heard of this. Like, did you know about this before you looked into it?
I have to say yes. I mean, that's what prompted me to like do the story. I've seen it on a couple of different like YouTube series that I will watch every now and then.
Okay.
And so, because also, actually, I've seen 3 different videos on it on YouTube, but the one that first got my attention was the interrogation video for Michael Bever, the 15-year-old, is on YouTube, I believe, almost in its entirety. For some reason, the interrogation video for Robert Bever, the 18-year-old, is redacted. It is not online somewhere, but Michael's is. So
could be part
I first came across that. Yeah.
It could be part of whatever plea agreement he had.
It could have been. So that's what prompted me to like look more into this tragedy, because it's outrageous to see.
Yeah, totally. Just incredibly outrageous. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for your story and your time. It sounds, abuse is terrible in any form that it comes in, especially from a parent. Who knows the incredible pain that causes. I don't understand the reaction of, I've been abused and, hurt. So
therefore,
I do get it. So I'm going to abuse and hurt, but there was no abuse and hurting. There was murder.
There was murder.
Which is
lot of murder.
Almost never justified.
Right.
I'm saying almost because of like self-defense and stuff, but like
almost never. But I believe in this instance, I think it might be fair to say this was
absolutely
not justified.
Unwarranted.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to say about it, but it was a great story.
Well,
good job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And
can I lighten things up?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay. So after that, what we're going to talk about next is probably pretty short.
Okay.
But real cute. Okay.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
this is where we get into the spoopy parts of the podcast.
Yes. If you haven't noticed the format yet, it's intense, borderline unbearable true crime. Especially the last 2 weeks, followed by something a lot more lighthearted. And I like the format. It's almost like an after dinner mint,
a palate cleanser, if you will. Yes,
a palate cleanser, if you will.
When your palate is, pretty murdery, you want to have a little.
Yeah, when your mouth, when just like at the back of your throat on your little dingle dangle, it's just.
Yeah.
It's just covered in murder.
Yeah, you just want to cleanse that a little bit and just calm her down. Yeah.
Yeah, and today we're going to calm down with the legend of the Bear Lake Monster. Do you know her?
Bear Lake? I don't know her. The Bear Lake Monster.
You don't know her? Listen, I never heard of her either.
This is a great episode where neither of us know what we're talking about. So this is good.
Fun. Okay, so I never heard of the Bear Lake Monster either. I went down a real Wikipedia hole. And I will say, normally, Wikipedia is not my first choice for source material.
Jesus, it's always mine. I will readily say that.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it because it's bad. I'm just saying I try not to. But just law school, just...
Yes. Yes.
You know, Wikipedia is the real... Jesus. Okay, so
She's
your
like,
house
boom.
looks... I'm finished. Your house looks haunted the whole time we've been recording. She just bangs that door open.
That's my girl.
Hi, Raven.
That's my girl.
My cats are asleep. Okay. But yeah, I've never heard of it. Wikipedia is the real MVP here. I have other sources, which of course we will link on our website.
Yes, we will.
Courtesy of Kevin. But let's get into it. So, just a little background. Bear Lake is located on the Idaho-Utah border.
Okay.
And it's split equally between the states. It's sometimes referred to as the Caribbean of the Rockies.
No, it's not. No one says that. Does someone really say that?
Yes, it is. Because, listen, I almost didn't put it in here because I thought I was so dumb. But, I put it in because it actually is what it's called, what it's referred to. And the reason is it's shockingly blue, nearly turquoise in color because due to the refraction of limestone deposits in the lake.
Okay.
Can you tell I'm a scientist?
I can. You are a straight up geologist, girl.
Amen. So the unusual water properties have led to the evolution of several unique species of fauna. Specifically, there are 4 species of fish that are found nowhere else in the world. They're only in Bear Lake, which I think sort of leads to a cryptid or a lake monster seeming more possible because we're like, well, with all of these special water properties and its turquoise nature, we have, what if we just had a Bear Lake monster? So I did try to find what the native or indigenous name of the lake was, but I really couldn't find anything. I found information on a bear lake in northern Canada, so that's not the same situation. I was able to find an article from 1928, from January 1988, that said that the Bear Valley region where Bear Lake is had been called Onokuch. Or Onokuch. It's Onocuth.
Okay.
But the article, again, was from January of 1928 in the Utah Historical Quarterly by William Palmer, who sounds not indigenous, so maybe it's not true at all. So I did try. I tried to find what its original naming meant. And the original naming could have very well been Bear Lake, and I just couldn't find it. But lurking beneath its stunning blue waters is what I am calling Utah's Nessie, the Bear Lake monster, who I've named Bear just for fun because he didn't have a name, and I feel like monster is derogatory.
Yes.
So I'm just going to call him Bear. All right.
Okay, I'm here for it.
From the Salt Lake City magazine, Bear is a great serpentine beast, as wide as a man. And depending on the account, 40 to 200 feet long. His head is...
I like my beasts as wide as men, so... Because I like men.
And a short range of 40...
So stupid,
nice,
sorry.
Kevin. Please keep that in. And then just a nice, simple range of 40 to 200 feet.
Just, a good range.
40... And his head is described as either a non-tusked walrus or an alligator, two mostly similar animals.
A tuskless walrus or an alligator.
Like a big blob. Or an alligator head.
Pause 1 second. That just automatically made me think of Linda Belcher when she was trying to organize Tina's 13th birthday party. And she was like, it'll be like Studio 54 or Buckingham Palace. And Bob was like, those are two very different things.
Exactly. So we have two very similar things, a non-tusked walrus, but also an alligator.
An alligator.
So, yeah. But both heads have been described as having huge, wide-set eyes, an undecided amount of legs, which I put in my notes.
I'm going to put 5.
Like, I put in my notes, like, boy cat nipples.
Like boy cat nipples? Or...
Because boy cat nipples they can be anywhere from like 4 to 8. Like there's an undetermined, listen, we can cut this out. I'm just saying when I was writing this story, it's what popped in my old noggin. All right. So, he's, we can cut that part. He's super scary fast in the water, but he's real awkward on land. Okay. Another account of bear is that he has a huge brown snake-like body. He's 90 feet long.
Okay.
He's got weird ears sticking out of the side of his skinny head. The ears were described as like pint glass shaped, but like, I don't really know what that means. Like were they I don't know if they were like cylindrical or what. But anyway, pint glass out of a skinny head and a mouth big enough to eat a man. What do you think about that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's what I have to say about that.
Ooh.
To eat a man.
Big enough to eat a man.
Big enough to eat a man. Indeed.
And then the most terrifying thing I've ever heard is small, short legs that made it look like he scurried when on land. So I just want to point this out. This is a 90-foot long brown snake body that's scurrying at you with little tiny legs. It's like a centipede or like a thousand liker? What are they called?
Millipede. Yeah.
I like thousand liker. But even with his weird scurrying legs, he swims faster than a horse gallops. So not that fast, I guess, because it's one horsepower.
1 horsepower. Okay.
But I mean, for like this is taking place in 1868. I guess it's pretty fast. So that second version of bear is a sneaky little jerk who likes to get close to swimmers in the lake and blow water on them or like, eat them.
One or the other. One, he's playful, like he's like a splash zone at SeaWorld. And exactly. The other, he eats them at like SeaWorld.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lay off me, I'm starving.
Great Chris Farley impression.
Shout out Chris Farley.
So one encounter says, it's a quote, "A feller I heard about spotted the monster early one evening."
Fuck off. A feller I heard.
It's F-E-L-L-E-R. It's not like fella. It's not anything else. It's a feller I heard. A feller I heard about spotted the monster early one evening while walking by the lake. I tried to shoot the monster, but missed. Just scared him off. So, bear likes to hang out in the deepest, coldest parts, hidden from dumb humans in the dark, which I absolutely respect.
I mean, yeah, life goals.
Yeah. But where did the legend begin, Kevin? I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, where did it begin?
It began in 1868 by Mormon settler Joseph C. Rich. And through a secondhand account of the story, he wrote to the Deseret News newspaper, is the full title.
I hate it. Okay, continue. The Deseret News. I think I've seen one of her shows before. Please welcome to the stage, Deseret News.
Deseret News newspaper. But Joe wrote multiple stories to the Deseret about our friend Bear. He did later recant his claims, but I can only assume it's because he was scared off by some kind of threat of retribution by the Lake Monster Association, which I did just make up, but I also think sounds really cool.
But they are a nasty organization. You don't want to cross them.
Listen, but I do support them. Before his recantation, however, Rich's stories created a big hubbub in Salt Lake City, and a news staffer from a local newspaper. Hubbub. Where am I? Oh, so there was a big hubbub in Salt Lake City about our friend Bear, and a news staffer from a local newspaper went to the area of Bear Lake and found that almost everyone he spoke to believed that the Bear Lake Monster was very real.
On a scale of not real to very real. Very real. Very real.
Very real. Very real. What a time to be alive. There's no TV. There's no other entertainment. But you're like, there's a monster in the lake? Absolutely.
Hey, Miss, do you want to come out to the lake and just sit there to look at it?
You bet your ass I do. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, even the LDS, the Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, the church got into it when they visited the area on preaching tours, which again, thank the universe for TV. They spoke to residents, and so many people told the story of the Bear Lake Monster that it was considered to be, quote, indisputable.
Indisputable.
The Salt Lake Tribune even wrote that Bear was, quote, twin brother to the devil and cousin to Brigham Young, which seems super scandalous.
That seems super scandalous and even stranger than saying it's a tuskless walrus.
Yes, it does.
With questionably numbered feet.
Yeah. No. Not in dispute. Disputed numbers of feet, meaning almost everybody said that.
I thought it was
almost everybody gave it. Listen, I don't know.
I heard you hear what you want to hear.
I very well may have said indiscriminate. I don't think I did, but what I meant to say, if I did, was that he has an undetermined amount of feet.
Undetermined. Okay. I'm still going to say 5 feet.
Fine. You're allowed to say that because there is an undetermined amount of feet.
Exactly.
And legs. But yes, so the number of sightings led some to believe that there could be an underwater channel that connected Bear Lake to the Great Salt Lake. Sort of, which sounds very familiar to theories about Nessie over in Scotland.
Of course. Yep.
Brigham Young himself, I said Brigham Young Mormon superstar himself was said to
Brigham Young
superstar. Do you know? Brigham Young Mormon superstar himself was said to have investigated to see if it was, quote, an honest tale of a serpent or only a fish story. Which, like, how rude. How rude. How dare you call Bear a fish story?
How dare you call him into question? Brigham.
How dare you?
His name is Brigham.
Yeah, Brigham. Bringham Young.
Bring it on, Brigham.
Had like 50 wives and 1,000 children.
And no credibility.
0. So yeah, Brigham Young even sent a large rope in aid of capturing the monster. As if Bear would be so easy to catch. What an idiot.
What a dum-dum.
During this time, the indigenous peoples of the area, mainly the Shoshone, got monster fever as well and told settlers stories of their own about a monster that was told to them by their ancestors. So everybody's into Bear.
Do you think they were just telling that to like scare the white people?
God, I hope so.
That was their entertainment pre-TV.
Yeah. One tale was of 2 indigenous lovers who were being chased by other tribespeople, plunged into the lake, and were changed into 2 large serpents, which are like totally rad. I love that. even better. They were called lovers in 2 accounts. So I'm picturing 2. Who am I picturing? I'm not picturing a heterosexual couple when I hear 2 lovers.
I love that.
And that's the way that I'm taking this legend. I would love it to be 2 men or 2 women because it's the theme of this podcast.
Yes.
And there's no facts to contradict me. Supposedly, a local resident tried to capture Bear using a baited hook attached to a 20-foot cable and 300 feet of rope. And then I wrote fools.
Fools, all of them.
Fools. The resident was hoping to exploit Bear by selling him to P.T. Barnum's death circus. So thankfully that was unsuccessful.
What do you have against Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah,
I think he's a delight.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not actually P.T. Barnum. That's
you don't know his
not
life.
A documentary. It's not a documentary, Kevin.
Yeah, yes it is.
No.
Yeah, yes it is.
For the record, I find Hugh Jackman to be delightful. So, like I said before, Joseph Rich came out and called the Bear Lake Monster, quote, a wonderful first-class lie.
That was that was my senior quote in my yearbook.
God, don't you wish though?
Yeah.
Don't you wish you could have been cool and said something like, "What
God.
a wonderful first-class lie"?
Do you remember yours? Because I sure do remember mine.
No, I don't have one in mind.
Cringe.
I refuse to do one. I refused to do one because I didn't have like anything to say, and I couldn't. I was just like, "What what do I have to say? This sucked. It was real. See you later." Like I didn't have a senior quote on purpose. But no, do you remember yours?
I do.
Please tell me. Please tell us. Please tell us.
Yeah, my senior quote. Oh my God. It was from...
Great, please tell us.
It was in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Yes.
It was... Harry was talking to Sirius Black, and he just says, "I'm not ready for this." And Sirius Black just says, "You don't have a choice." So that was my senior quote. I'm not ready for
this.
Just
those 2 lines?
You don't have a choice.
All right. I was just an asshole who refused to participate, so I'm glad that you participated.
It doesn't fucking matter, so you were on the right track, because none of that goddamn shit matters.
No, it doesn't. But I was also just very not into participating, as I'm sure you remember.
Yes.
If you couldn't tell me why, I wasn't going to do it. And nobody could tell me why I needed to have a senior quote. As I'm sure everyone can tell, I was a delight. So, moving on. Even after he was called a wonderful first-class lie, sightings of Bear continued. In 1907, 2 men in Logan, Utah saw the Bear Lake Monster when he attacked their camp and killed a horse, which seems like a dick move.
It seems like a real dick move.
And then again, in 1946, a Boy Scout leader saw him. Again, no detail provided.
Not one.
Not one. But in 2019, Matthew Havertz, Havertz, made a documentary on the Bear Lake Monster on YouTube. I watched it. It's about 22 minutes. You can watch it too. And really, it was kind of interesting because the talking heads on it were like a bunch of legitimate scientists.
Really?
Yeah. Like there was a college professor. There was a biologist who worked for the Department of Natural Resources and a few others. Check it out.
Okay.
It's called In Search of the Bear Lake Monster. I watched it, and it has a handful of modern sightings of the Bear Lake Monster, most of whom have never heard of the monster prior to their encounter. So it's not like they were looking for it. They weren't searching for Sasquatch or trying to scare Nessie out of the loch. They were truly unaware. And something interesting is there's lots of real quote unquote monster fossils have been found nearby, like mammoths, plesiosaurus. So why not? Why not our friend bear? Mike Havertz, who is the documentarian's uncle, he saw bear in 1977. He and a group of friends were, and this is not explained and to me completely bizarre, a group of him and other teenagers were in a canoe at night in freezing water. So
as one does. Yep,
I can't make it make sense, but I guess outdoorsy people could probably make sense of it. I'm not. I'm indoorsy at best.
You've been declawed. Yep.
Absolutely. But he said that the waters were very calm. Then all of a sudden, big waves started and lasted for at least 3 minutes. And they all got freaked out. The waves got up to the top of the canoe. And they thought, they were scared that the water was going to capsize them. And then they came to a consensus that it was not just bear, but they believed that multiple monsters were under the canoe just being dicks, just messing with them. Mike Havertz, he did not explain how or why he thought that it was multiple monsters or how he thought that they could have been a family. I don't know if they were wearing bracelets or something to identify them. But he did say it was multiple monsters or a family of monsters attacked their canoe, which again, they were on the lake outside when it was freezing. So take that as you will.
Yeah.
And then another sighting from the documentary was a father and daughter team. For reasons I don't know, they were sitting in the father's truck, and the father was sitting in the driver's seat looking out at the lake and saw a big white wave, which is uncommon. The white wave usually means there's like a big disturbance, right? Like a boat or something. But he didn't see anything. He just saw the white wave, but then he saw something shoot out of the water 30 or 40 feet high. And then, but the daughter didn't see it. But then the daughter sees something and yells, "Oh my God, Dad, what was that?" I don't know how she yelled it because it was like a voice actor. She wasn't actually in the documentary, but the dad was. They thought that there was a boat, or she said that she thought it looked like one of those, I think I know what she's talking about, but one of those inflatable tubes that outdoorsy people jump on. Like,
okay. I know what.
Do you know what I mean?
I can picture that.
Like they jump off a pier and then like they jump on it and then
they get catapulted,
like flying into the air.
Yeah.
People think it's fun and it sounds terrifying. I feel like I would break every bone in my body. Which
I agree.
I would. Then she saw it come out of the water and go back under like a huge black shiny serpent. She said she saw at least 2 parts of its body going up and down and disappearing under the water, like it was serpentining up and out of the water. You see what I'm doing? Up and down. But, you remember the body is like at least 90 feet long. So, it's going to be serpentining up and down. I wish everyone could see me right now because I'm really into it. Both father and daughter saw it again at the same time. So first dad saw it, then daughter, but dad saw it, but daughter didn't. Okay. Daughter saw it, but dad didn't. And then the third time they both saw it at the same time. But yeah, those are the 2 main ones from that documentary. It's actually a really well done documentary. So check it out. But some explanations that have been given, which I called this section, "This is dumb, long live bear." So so this is mainly from the biologist I was talking about. So the native fish in Bear Lake actually swim in a really tight school, and when they do that, they show up on the sonar as just like one big mass because they're so tight together when they're swimming. So he said, I could understand how people could confuse it, because the water is so clear that you can see all of it, which is another reason why it's called the Caribbean, because the water is so crystal clear. So when you look down, if you see it, it can look like one big mass and can be confused. Again, I think it's bullshit. Bear's real. Long live bear.
Long live bear.
The biologist said one time he was looking at the lake and it was extremely calm. He said it was like glass, the surface of the water. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden it started moving rhythmically, like back and forth, like very pronounced along the water surface. And he was just like, what the hell is this? What's going on? And he went and got his spotting scope. And saw it was actually a herd of elk swimming across the lake.
So. Oh my gosh.
But really, I mean, that's the story of the Bear Lake Monster and our friend Bear.
Justice for Bear.
Justice for Bear. I will die on my hill that Bear is real. I think he's a cousin of Nessie. But I'm going to say that they're cousins. I'm going to say that they're close. I'm going to say that all of the tunnels, the canals underneath allow them to travel. I'm going to say that they exist in more than two places and we are just too dumb to understand them. And I will die on this hill. Good night.
Okay. Click. We're done. Good night.
Mic drop. Long live Bear.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Bear. That is
Bear.
The Utah/Idaho Bear Lake Monster, which again is derogatory and I don't support it.
Maybe he likes it that way though. Maybe he does refer to himself that way.
Fine. Okay, so he owns it. I can respect that he owns the monster status, but that doesn't mean that we get to call him a monster.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough for Bear. That's fair for Bear.
Justice. Fair for Bear is fair for all of us. I was going to try to be Linda Belcher and just try to come up with a slogan.
Couplet.
Yeah, like from when she's protesting at the museum.
Yes. Yeah, the museum. Yeah.
Yes. This has been a real Belcher heavy episode.
I mean, the more Belchers, the better. Yes.
Hashtag
I love it. Well, thank you for that story. That was lovely. I loved hearing about Bear. I never heard about him. So I want him to be real.
But yeah, I long live Bear.
Yay. Look at us.
Yeah.
Episode 4. We doing it.
This
is a lovely episode. I know. Of entertainment, of content that we've created.
Entertainment.
Ooh.
Yeah, entertainment.
Yes, Queen.
Yeah.
We are going to keep churning them out too. But
yes, so thank you for listening. If you're still listening, or if you're new in week 4, we love to have you. We love to see you.
Yeah.
If you haven't, or if you want, please rate and subscribe wherever you are.
Yes, please.
Write us a review if you feel so inclined. If you're on a platform like Spotify where you can't leave reviews, feel free to send us an email at creepyinquiriespod@gmail.com. And then our social medias are the same. Creepy Inquiries Pod. Is that right?
That's right. Our website's www.creepyinquiriespod.com. At Instagram, we're at creepyinquiriespod. On Twitter, we are C_inquiries as of today.
Are we?
We are. We are.
I know.
But you can still search for us as Creepy Inquiries Pod. So.
Okay, and we are using Twitter.
Allegedly. Yes. We have it. I'll say.
Feel free to send it.
It's there.
Feel free to send us a twat. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also want to point out too, we are, I know we've already said this many times, but we are so happy that people have been like tuning in. The weirdest thing that I have found.
Listening.
The weirdest thing that I found from this experience so far is shout out to those 2 people in Dublin that have checked out our website.
Oh my God. Or China.
Or China, there was one person from Beijing. Yeah.
You're welcome. We love you. We appreciate you. I don't know how you stumbled upon this website, but
tell your friends.
But tell your friends.
We'd love it.
Foreign countries? Was that just Ireland
as of this
and China?
taping? Yeah, as of this taping, yes. But we had
incredible.
In the U.S., we've had a number of states that have found us. We've had a number of website visits from a place in Oregon.
So if you're in Oregon, thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much. We see you. Yeah. It makes me want to like look for stories to do about Oregon, because if
which we should do.
Absolutely, there are stories out there.
Give the people what they want.
Yes, ma'am. And people from we're naming these states because we know no one from those states. So like, thank you. For Oregon.
So obviously we have people from Maryland, but that's where we're from. So like, we love you. We appreciate you. But it's really exciting when people from Oregon and Ireland and China are also visiting our website.
Exactly. So thank you. But until next week, next Wednesday for a new episode, we love you. So until next week, my darlings.
Bye.